What's happening, fishing friends? Today we're taking a look at a casting rod that is perfect for all of your finesse fishing techniques. So I'm talking like drop shot, Ned rig, little shaky heads, any of that finesse stuff, even some of the moving baits, smaller crankbaits, stuff that's hard to throw on, your regular Baitcaster. Ark has come out with this. This is the Gravity BF, Bass Finesse. And I love that because to me, that's what BFS is, right? Some people get in their mind, it's this one little 1/82nd ounce jig that people are trying to throw. I'm talking just downsized bass stuff, and this is perfect. So today I'm going to take you out in the field, out on the water, to show you how this performed. I was actually throwing a free rig. I ended up breaking it off, but throwing a free rig, caught quite a few bass, fished it for, 4 hours toward the end of the day. This is actually after I got done fishing the popper, believe it or not. I caught another 20 or so on the free rig. I caught, 10 or so. My battery died. I kept fishing all the way back to the dock and caught probably 20 fishing this. So we'll go out there and look at that. And then we'll come back in here and take a close-up look at this. I'll go through the features and lastly tell you what I think the pros and cons are to something like this. So enough yapping, let's get out there. There we go, one on the free rig. Sure. Already had that thing choked. There we go, the one on the free rig. Another one on it. Just outside the grass. Still a toad. Only the toads today for Debo. The dink counter just keeps going up. I felt him hit it. Thumped it pretty good. Okay, back to the Hellgrammite free rig. I lost my underspin spinner contraption thing that I made. So trying this around the rocks. Good enough for one more. Is that a bite? Is that a bite? Is that a bite? Nope. Just a rock, just a rock, just a rock. That's a bite. Another on the Helgie. I think it's time for a new Helgie though. Yo, easy there, feller. Right through the old nose. One more to the tally. Can we make this Hellgrammite last one more fish? Let's see. For those of you who don't know, Helgie is the Hellgrammite. It's the Hellgrammite. Love these on a Ned rig. Today we're free rigging it. There we go. Simple little deal. I think, is that an 1/8? 1/8 free rig weight with a Helgie and a hook. Missed him. Oh my God. Holy smokes. Another Hellgrammite giant. Another little chunk. Just hopping this down the rocks. Oh. Another. Another. There we go. One more Hellgrammite fish. Hopping this down the rocks. Now this is interesting because with all the green slime, like every rock on the bottom, everywhere, even the wood, Just has that snot green slime stuff, so you can't throw a jig or a Texas rig. The free rig, I think, is an excellent alternative, because the free rig, if you don't know, is just like a drop shot or some sort of, you know, weight with a round eye here that can slide free, hence free rig. And then this is kind of weightless back there, just kind of drifts down so it doesn't get stuck in that slime and stuff as much. All right, so as you can see, the rod did great with the little free rig. So to me, this, in my mind, now this is an extra fast, and this is what I wanted for something like little tiny micro jigs. If you're throwing like a little 1/8 ounce jig, little shaky head, you know, little Ned rigs, 1/8 or 16, something like that. This is absolutely perfect. It's got a perfect bend to it. It's not super soft. You know, I think sometimes when people get into the ultralight stuff, like some of the spinning rods, they're pretty noodly, right? This one is not. This is good and crisp, but still, you know, it is a light power, so when you bend this into it, it doesn't take much power to bend into that tip at all, but still a good backbone through, you know, I would say 2/3 of the rod, which is kind of what I think of a fast. 3/4 of it ish to 2/3. Most of it's going to be the backbone. So for that kind of stuff, it's awesome. And the first thing I noticed when I picked this up without the reel on it was the weight. I picked this up and I'm like, this thing weighs nothing. I got the 6' 8" light extra fast, rated for line weight 2 to 8 pounds, lure weight 1/32 to 1/8. And the rod itself, all of these rods, I think there's 4 casting. They actually even have a couple of these in the spinning, but I was most interested in the casting. The 4 of these they have, I think this is the one that weighs the most at just under 2.6 ounces. Now it is a shorter rod too, so that cuts off some of the weight, but still, that is crazy when you pick up a rod and it's 2 ounces. This is the Tatula 80, and interestingly enough, I found on Amazon they have a BFS spool for this. Not all the Tatulas, but for this 80 they did. So this is actually a cool way to get into BFS if you happen to have a Tatula 80, I guess. I bought the spool, I think, for like $30, this BFS spool. So it's just a real shallow, wiffled out, tiny BFS spool. I put some 8-pound P-Line Tactical Fluorocarbon on here. And you've got essentially a dual combo here if you have this reel. They might have other ones. I don't know. I happened to see it on a savings day or whatever they had a month or so ago and got this. So if you're looking for that, good. Otherwise, the Ark Gravity BFS reel, I think, is the best bang for the buck. I think still $150. And again, actually, Ark gave me a coupon code, 10% off if you use Debo over there. I've got a link to this rod and the Ark Gravity BFS rod, 10% off on either of those. So pretty cool. I appreciate them doing that, because this is a pretty sick combo. Now, you know, with me, the biggest thing too, when I picked it up, it was light. That's great and all, but if it's not comfortable, I don't care how expensive it is. It could be a $5,000 rod. I don't care. This one is very comfortable. It doesn't have a super small reel trigger. It's kind of the normal size, but a lot of this is hollowed out. So this is the proprietary reel seat that they've done, Ark's custom reel seat. You can see here, it's kind of like hollowed out here, so it's very minimalistic. I really do like that. Your hand molds around it. If you want to put your finger up here, it's comfortable to do that. A very nice kind of bare bones look to it. I hate when they get too much stuff here, companies do. It should just be a good, nice grip in there, and I think they really, really nailed that. Now, apparently Ark is making the guides too. These are the Ark titanium tangle-free guides with nano force rings. I don't know what kind of rings those are. I don't think they're ceramic. I would assume there's something like an alkanite Fuji equivalent, I guess. I don't know. Didn't say, but I didn't have any issues with those. Like I said, throwing 8-pound line, I didn't have any sort of line getting, you know, burrs or rub draw or losing fish or anything like that. I completely got my whole rig tangled in something at the end and broke off. So that was the end of the adventure. But otherwise, guides and everything seem good. Casting to it was good. It's got how many? 8 plus 1, so 8 plus the tip to the guides. And this is a smaller rod, so, you know, I don't expect, you know, 10, 11, 12 guides or anything like that. But yeah, so far pretty dang impressed with the rod. Now, time will tell how it's going to hold up. You know, I've fished it a few different times and it's done well. You know, over the course of a year or something, maybe, you know, we can follow up on this and some other things I've got with guides and that kind of thing. But as of right now, I'm loving it. From the back and to the front, it is EVA. So if you don't like EVA, maybe you won't like it. I love the color scheme of this. It's all blacked out, all matte black and gray. I love a simple, like this. Look at this. Simple black, gray, silver with a little Hawkeye, go Hawks, Hawkeye accents here, black and gold, reel handle deals. But otherwise, very sleek looking. I personally love that. That's my favorite. I don't love the crazy colors and all that stuff. To me, this is it. This looks sweet. So overall, what are the pros and cons of this? Well, you know, the first thing that people are going to say, and I cannot disagree with you there, is, well, I already have an ultralight rod. Why would I need a casting rod or a BFS rod or whatever? You're right, you don't. You can do all the same things on a spinning rod that you can do on a casting. The big thing for me is comfort. It is 1,000 times more comfortable for me to fish a casting rod like this in my hand all day to work this stuff compared to a spinning reel. They're just not as comfortable to me. I'll fish a spinning reel, you know, if that's the bite and that's what I've got rigged up. Of course, I'm not one of these guys that doesn't use it, but if I had my choice, a casting setup like this is a lot more comfortable for me to fish throughout the day. Accuracy on a casting deal like this, I'm way more accurate. If I'm, you know, flipping and pitching that free rig like I was, or a little jig, something like that, just working it and such is more comfortable for me all day, you know, doing this with a casting rod as opposed to a spinning rod. But if that's all you got and you're like, hey, it doesn't make sense, don't watch this then, because you're probably not interested in a BFS setup. Just use your spinning reel. Nothing wrong with that. Now, the second kind of pro and con is the price. So it's a $200 rod. Now, the good thing about that is, like I said, I've got a 10% off code down below, so it does take off 20 bucks for you. You know, a lot of the $100 rods, that price point, you're going to see like a 24-ton blank. So higher the blank up, usually the more sensitivity. There's different things that go to it, different scrims and stuff, and you know, the resins or the glues and stuff. But overall, I think they've done a good job at getting you good sensitive blanks, because this is a 46-ton blank at $200. And there's companies that $200 are just doing like a 30-ton blank, right? So you get good sensitivity, good materials. I'm interested to see how these guides are going to last, though. Like I said, I don't know how the Ark guides are doing. I haven't used a ton of their new rods that would have this. So that'll, you know, time will tell on that. But you are getting a good amount of features, and like I said, the custom reel seat and stuff that they've done for the money. $200 is expensive for a rod. I know that, and everything in fishing is going up right now. So if you're like, well, I don't really need a BFS rod right now, again, use your spinning stuff. But if you're in the market for one, you're looking for something like that to go to, you know, finesse jigs or Ned rigs, something like that that you can throw on a casting rod. I think this one is perfect for it. If you got, what, 179 bucks or whatever to spend with the discount. Now, the only other con I could think of, it's not the rod's fault, but if you're going to get a setup like this, don't just throw on, like, you know, a loose LFS or something and expect it to perform with 6-pound line, because they've got a big spool. So that's the big thing with BFS deals, is they've got a very, very shallow spool meant to hold just a little bit of line. And that really aids in casting that lure, less weight on the spool. You know, when you've got a bigger spool with that holds a higher capacity, I should say. A spool that holds more line, it takes more inertia to get that started with all that line on there. So kind of a con. If you are going to get into something like this, I would recommend a BFS baitcaster. You could probably get away with something like the Shimano SLX MGL 70. That reel has been surprisingly good. You know, if you're throwing like smaller moving baits, 1/8 or, you know, 3/16, something like this on here. If you're throwing something like that, maybe the SLX MGL 70. But if you are looking to, you know, really do a lot of the lighter stuff, 1/8, you know, maybe 1/16 ounce Ned rigs, I would recommend going to a BFS reel. So I want to get your thoughts, fishing friends. Comment below and let me know what you think of the rod. I have been really happy with it. BFS fishing has kind of been a turn for me. And since the beginning, I like that they are marketing theirs as Bass Finesse, because that's what it's totally been for me. It's not been these little tiny micro jigs, and everybody hears BFS and they think pan fishing, right? Well, if you're fishing in a lot of these creeks, or, you know, a lot of the pressure places I have around here that don't have 10-pound bass, like in this video, catching, you know, a bunch of pound and a halfers, it's a blast to do that on 8-pound line. I've tried it with 7-pound fluorocarbon. I was testing some other stuff. It's great for that. Even if you had 6-pound fluorocarbon you could throw on there. So it's a blast catching fish like that, throwing the downsized lures, some of those, you know, balsa cranks or smaller spinner baits, your finesse, you know, stuff like we talked about. It's a ton of fun to do on something like this. It doesn't mean it has to be some little micro crappie jig thing. I think that's a big misconception. Now, speaking of that other video, throwing the popper, Tom Brewster. He said, excellent vid, Debo, fun day dinking. And yeah, listen, sometimes you have days like that, and if you throw BFS a lot, it makes all those feel like 4 or 5-pound fish, right? So it's a blast. It's just a different way to do it. If you're looking to get into something different, go to some of these downsized stuff for pressure waters. I think it's a super fun way. You know, you might not be catching 5-pounders every other cast, but you're catching more fish, and it's a fun day to me. At the end of the day, that's all I'm trying to do, is go out and catch fish and have fun. There's so much damn negativity in the fishing community nowadays with tournament stuff and, you know, this and that. And of course, prices are going up. So it's just like, fishing is supposed to be a fun time and, you know, a relaxing getaway from all the craziness. And it's like now that craziness is pouring into fishing, and I try to keep it all out. So this is just my view on it. I would love to hear what you all think. Comment below and let me know what you know. Otherwise, I got to edit. So love y'all. Thanks for watching, and until next time.